You're listening to the legendary podcaster, the one, the only, TJMD. Your personal favorite, and the show you've been waiting for. Probably offensive.
Welcome to another episode of Probably Offensive. As you can hear me switch over from DMX, not nearly as smoothly as I would have liked, but there's a reason I was playing the DMX, because I don't usually play any music of any name brand or anything. It's just this sort of classical music that I play in the background is something that I like, but it's just background music for me. But as I do every podcast, I try to give the latest in celebrity deaths, and that is why I was playing the DMX music, because unfortunately DMX at 50 years old just passed away. And also, Prince Philip was the Queen of England, the fake queen. I call her the fake queen because she's not actually ruling England. They have a prime minister who actually governs Great Britain. And the queen, I don't know what she does, but just be the queen. But she's pretty old herself, and her husband, Prince Philip, died. He was 99 years old. So, condolences to the friends and family. If anyone knew Prince Philip, which I doubt anyone that would be listening to this podcast would know Prince Philip. But if you do, condolences. The guy passed away. Now, DMX is a hip-hop artist that we all knew and loved. I loved DMX's music. I thought it was kind of sad that the guy passed away because he was only 50 years old. That's my age, okay? So I always think it's sad when someone who's my age or younger than me passes away. DMX was a great hip-hop artist. He didn't look like he was in bad shape. There were reports that he was, had his bout with drugs and depression. He had been in the hospital before. It's been reported that he had at one time spotted naked in the hallway. Not that this is funny, but he was spotted naked in the hallway of a hotel, ranting and raving. So DMX had some issues, but unfortunately that will be not an issue anymore. There was some weird noise on the computer here, and I didn't know what the hell it was. Some kind of notification. But anyway, DMX passes away at the age of 50. So my condolences to the friends and family and fans of DMX, the beloved. Like I said, I have some of his music on my computer, this computer right here that I'm doing this podcast on. I got some of DMX's music on there, and some of DMX's music is some of my most favorite songs. Now, the passing of DMX brings me to another subject, and that is something that I've been talking about more than I ever thought I would have when I signed on to do this podcast. And that's conspiracy theories. Now, the passing of DMX has prompted someone who I know to say that DMX died after receiving the vaccine for COVID. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know how true it is. But for me, it's not relevant. Say it is relevant in news, but people drop dead every single day. And I'm guessing that there's a number of people, and not just old people, because, someone mentioned that Hank Aaron, who was 86 years old, had received the COVID vaccine before he died. And I'm just saying that he was 86 years old. He probably would have died anyway. There's a number of people of different ages who drop dead every single year on this planet. Okay? There's a number of people for a number of different reasons. And some reasons are mysterious when it's a young person. But there's a number of people who drop dead. And I'm not saying that the COVID vaccine is foolproof and it's totally 100% safe, because everything you put in your body usually has some type of effect on your body. So there's a lot of different medicines, vaccines, that for some people they have a reaction to it. But what we have here, this is not a case of the COVID vaccine being deadly. This is a case of conspiracy theorists and Trump supporters suggest, and these are QAnon believers, most of them, a lot of them, some of them not so much, but they're still conspiracy theorists. But this is a case of conspiracy theorists believing that COVID kills no one and the vaccine kills everyone. Now that's an exaggeration of their belief, but that's basically what they keep trying to say is, why would we shut down the country for a disease that only kills not even 1% of the people who are infected? And if COVID killed over 500,000 people. That's 500,000. So that's probably more than 1%, actually. So that person who says it kills less than 1%, they're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. But the point is, if it's acceptable to you for COVID to kill 500,000 people in a year out of 350 million people, actually there's more than 350 million people in America, but out of 350 million plus people in America, COVID killed 500,000. If that's acceptable to you for COVID to kill 500,000 people, but it's not acceptable for the vaccine to kill the minuscule numbers of, and they haven't even proved that the vaccine has killed anyone yet. There's no proof that the vaccine, any of the vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, whatever the other, Johnson & Johnson, there's another one on the scene now. I can't remember that drug company's name, but there's like 4 or 5 drug companies here that have a vaccine. But there's no proof that the vaccine, any of these vaccines, has killed anyone. But I'm just going to take a wild stab in the dark, or just to say, I'll take your word for it, and that the vaccine had killed, some of the people who have no idea what they're talking about, have no background in science or medicine. They just like to point out anyone famous who has died, whether they have had the vaccine or not. They just like to point that out. It's not acceptable to some people for the vaccine to have killed anyone, one person. If a vaccine has killed anyone, if anyone has had a adverse reaction to the vaccine and died, that's not acceptable to some people. But it is acceptable for the disease of COVID to kill 500,000 people. So that's my problem with people claiming that this vaccine is killing people. It's not killing people because 80 million, or is it over 100 million now? Over 100 million people. Over 100, I think it's 150 million. That's half the people. Almost half the people, not half, not quite. Another 25 million, and we'll be at half the people in the U.S. And once we reach half the people in the U.S., pandemic over. If these vaccines are as effective as they say they are, if more than half the people get the vaccine, then the pandemic in the U.S. is over. Now, once they start allowing people to travel and people start coming here to the U.S. from other countries, then I'm not sure about the math anymore. But once you get over half the people vaccinated, then the pandemic is over if the vaccines work like they're supposed to. But when it comes to conspiracy theories, we have these people who will go on and tell you that there's no reason to shut the country down for a virus that only killed 500,000 people out of 360 million. But there is reason to be alarmed if the vaccine for the virus killed 3 or 4 people, which is no proof yet. I have not heard any medical proof that these vaccines, any one of them, has killed anyone. There's been people who have died and they've had something else wrong with them. Pre-existing condition. And what some people who are not very bright think is that, well, if someone dies from COVID and they had a pre-existing condition, the government says that they died from COVID and not the pre-existing condition. But that's because they had the pre-existing condition and they were living with it until they got COVID. And then they died. So that is considered dying because of COVID. The pre-existing condition might have made it easier for you to die with COVID. When you get attacked by COVID and it attacks your lungs, if you have a pre-existing condition that makes it impossible for your lungs to continue working properly, you probably will die. Now, I'm not a medical professional, but you're probably going to die if you have a pre-existing condition and you get COVID. It depends on what that pre-existing condition is. But if you receive the vaccine and you have a pre-existing condition, that doesn't mean you're going to die. But if you do die, it might be because of the pre-existing condition. Because if you didn't have the pre-existing condition and you got the vaccine, you would live. A lot of millions, 100 million people have gotten this vaccine and not had any problem at all. Okay? We're up to like 150 million people who've been vaccinated. And some people have been vaccinated with their first dose of the vaccine, and some people have already been vaccinated with their second dose. So, the vaccine is not killing people. It's not.